Hey everyone, my name is Chris, and on this channel we talk Kanye West, and today is going to be definitely a game-changing kind of day. And that's because Kanye has tweeted out, "We must now realize the promise of America by trusting God, unifying our vision, and building our future. I'm running for president of the United States, American flag emoji, exclamation point, hashtag 2020 vision." And this is kind of a big deal for a number of reasons. One, and just most immediate and superficial, in 2018, let's take a step back. Okay, so Kanye first announced he was going to run for president in 2015 at the MTV Video Music Awards. He went on stage, was giving a big speech because he had won the Video Vanguard Award, and he said, "I don't know what I finna lose after this." Yeah, it don't matter though. Sorry. It's not about me. It's about ideas, new ideas, people with ideas, people who believe in truth, West said. And yes, as you probably could have guessed by this moment, I have decided in 2020 to run for president. I was trying to think when I paused, was it the Video Vanguard Awards or that he won or something else? But he at least announced that he was running for president. And at the time, everybody was freaking out because they're just like, how could Kanye say that? How could he run for president? He's never going to win. And he's maintained that position for a while. I mean, facts came out not too long after that, and he had the line, 2020, I'm going to run the whole election, which was good. Sorry this post has been removed by the moderators of Raw Kanye. Huh, that's weird. And then he talked about running in 2024. So that was one of the major changes, was after his support of Trump in 2018, and especially after he went to the White House and met with Trump in 2018, he said that 2024 I'll run for president, which was given, respect to Trump, assuming that Trump was going to run for re-election, win re-election. Kanye wasn't going to step on his toes in that way. For Kanye now to come out and say nothing against Trump, but that he is running in 2020, I think that's tacitly, or at least like beneath the surface, a bit of a dig at the fact that Trump sucks. Dude just announced today that COVID, we're just gonna have to live with it, which anyway, that seems to be taking back on that position that Trump is the best option for 2020 to 2024, and that Kanye himself believes I'm gonna run. Though I say that, and we got to keep in mind for a second that we know that God's Country was announced. He announced it on Twitter. We know that Wash Us in the Blood was the first single from God's Country. Kanye has a very well-documented history of hyping people up before releases, usually with controversy in the media. He doesn't do a bunch of interviews the way that most celebrities do, just like, all right, time for the press tour, the traditional mechanism. Instead, he usually comes back to Twitter and says a bunch of stuff. And he might go on interviews, but he says a bunch of stuff and generates that conflict that makes him such a lightning rod that then brings all the attention to him and his forthcoming album. So is this just Kanye driving that interest and capturing as much attention as possible in a very different way than he did in 2018, but, you know, getting people to just pay attention to him, and then in a month or a couple weeks drops God's Country and have all the plays for it, and then go back into hibernation the way that he did after Jesus is King, the way that he did, I guess he did it really after Ye or Kids See Ghost. He was pretty active, but that was in the build up to Yandhi, right? Before we thought Yandhi was going to come up, he was doing all of this stuff and very vocal and out there. And same thing was happening in 2016. Like, Kanye was pretty quiet in 2014, 2015, if I remember correctly. And then right before The Life of Pablo was going to come out, he just ramped up all of his social media posting, how out front he was in the media and news. So there's a tendency for that. So as much as we might want to buy in that this is Kanye running for president, there's also just the knowledge that it could be him trying to do what Trump was trying to do in 2015, 2016, which was just, I want to get attention, and doing this is the best way. Though I think there's always the rumors that Trump never wanted to be president, and then when he won, he's just like, oh God. I think if Kanye were to win, he'd just be like, All right, here we go. Let's get to it. And I feel like people are going to roll their eyes a little bit, like, Kanye running for president. At the same time, though, remember Kanye's history. He was just a kid in Chicago that wanted to go make music and be a musician. And people are like, you're just a kid from Chicago. No. But then he's producing for Jay-Z. Like, he broke through that barrier. But as a producer, he's like, I want to be a rapper. And everybody's like, nah, you're not going to be. And then he drops College Dropout and becomes one of the biggest artists in the world. And then he wants to get into fashion. And everybody's like, you're just a rapper. Like, you're just a music guy. You're not going to get into fashion. Gets into fashion and now has a company worth $3 billion. It could be even more after the Yeezy Gap deal. I mean, you think back to the interview he did with Sway in 2013, the infamous how Sway, like how? Like, Sway's telling him that he should just do these things himself. You don't have to rely on deals with other people. But you look at what the deal with Adidas got Kanye. You look at what this deal with Gap gets Kanye. Like, associating yourself with these huge brands really builds out what you're able to do and brings a certain, I guess, reputation or seriousness to what you're doing that goes beyond just what he could do on his own. And he was able to take the time and have the space to make those deals happen. And now that they're happening, yeah, Yeezy has been very successful thanks to the Adidas deal. And I'm sure the stuff with Gap is probably going to be pretty game changing in a lot of ways as well. So you see that going on. And then you have Kanye say that he's $53 million in debt in 2016. And within 5 years, he's now valued at over $1 billion and becomes a billionaire just because of the moves he had been making in that time. In 2015, I think it's at the same Video Vanguard thing, he compared himself to Disney, Hughes, Ford, Steve Jobs, and people kind of rolled their eyes at that. They're like, how could Kanye ever be at the level of these guys? But now you see him owning the ranch out in Wyoming with all the land, the manufacturing he wants to build there, the city he wants to build there. Like, even if 5% of the things that Kanye wants to do comes to fruition, then him being part of those names is not so outrageous. I mean, you even look at what he's been able to do in fashion in the multidisciplinary career that he has had, and the fact that he is putting himself up there with those names, it's starting to seem less and less absurd than when he said it. And even saying it at that time is kind of summoning that comparison and priming people to make that comparison, so that everything that he does, they think like, okay, yeah, he's earning that reputation a bit. You're mocked for it, you're ridiculed for it up front, but it also gets people anchoring you, associating you with those people and those things, which makes it easier later on. So he's definitely living up to that hype. And does that mean that he's announcing his run for president? It might seem crazy to us now, but I mean, people thought his dreams way before were crazy, and look at where he's reached in his life. Even I put up this poll, which a little silly, right? Like, it's just a Twitter poll, 192,000 votes, Kanye, Trump, or Biden, and Kanye has 57.8% of the votes. And again, Twitter is not reflective of people at large, right? Like, the voting population in America is going to skew much different. But just the fact that we saw Trump beat actual politicians, I think proves that Kanye could end up beating actual politicians if he does seriously run. And you might have some people that are like, oh, what's Kanye's like policy? What's he stand for? He said in interviews before that it was the interview with Charlemagne the God back in 2018, that his policies would be much more in line with Bernie Sanders. His campaign would be like Trump. The off-the-cuff messaging, the realness of the messaging, not the standard politician bullshit, but that the policies would be more progressive and in line with Bernie. Even when he met with Trump in the Oval Office, what he talked about was mental health reform, education reform, manufacturing reform, all these things, police reform, all these things that were very progressive and forward thinking, rather than just the traditional, like, big business, which both parties tend to love supporting big business, which at the expense of the average person. I think Kanye cares way more about the average person than the average politician does. But even here, Ye versus the People, I think still, as controversial as this song tends to be, as there are people that are always say, like, it's the worst Kanye song. I don't think so. It's always fascinating to me, but you have the verse where Kanye says, "I know Obama was heaven sent, but ever since Trump won, it proved that I could be president." And I think the difference there, what that's saying, is that Obama, as a black man winning the presidency, is amazing and empowering for a great many, but Obama was still a career politician. And there's very few that can walk the path Obama did to become president, right? The accolades that he had, the career that he had, it's few have the journey and have the intelligence and the charisma and the skill that Obama has. Trump, on the other hand, was not a career politician. He was not a lawyer, a great legal mind that had grown up with these like great Ivy League people. Trump has been a con artist for most of his life, controversial, but a celebrity, an outspoken celebrity, a lightning rod celebrity. And the fact that he went from having no political experience to just complaining about Obama on Twitter for 8 years, and that was enough to get him the presidency, that's what inspires Kanye, because he's much more in line with where Trump's at than with Obama, because he didn't have the same career background as Obama, but he has the same career background as Trump. So to be able to see Trump go from a chump tweeting to president, Kanye's like, I can do that too. Like, I can do that. And because Obama won, because Trump won, both of those things signal to me that it's possible for me. So I'm very curious to see how this goes. Is this something where Kanye is just stirring up anticipation for God's country, and this is just more of that I'm getting the attention just to kind of benefit from the attention? Or is he seriously going to run for 2020, have his name on the ballot? Is he going to try to debate? We'll find out as the weeks continue, and you can stay tuned right here on this channel for way too much analysis on it and way too much information. And if you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, or information yourself, because I'm sure there are things that I am missing, I would love to read it and respond to it. So please let us know. And if you have any, Elon Musk also commented on this and said that Kanye had his full support. So that's another controversial person, as Elon has been thought of as a genius, but also as somebody that's incredibly problematic. He has his supporters and he has his detractors. The fact that he and Kanye could team up in some kind of political realm would be very interesting. Though with Elon not being born in America, I do wonder if that limits what positions in the government he could be. Like, I don't think he could be vice president, right? Could he be in the cabinet though? We'll see. We'll see. But if you want to support the channel, the easiest way is liking, commenting, and subscribing. All three of those things tell YouTube that this is a channel people enjoy, and then they show it to others, which goes a long way. And then we also have a podcast, Watching the Throne, on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. We go line by line through Kanye's discography. We've done every solo album that he's released, every song. A lot of the episodes are still on our public feed, but most of them have been moved to Patreon. So if you really want to support us, www.patreon.com/Kanye podcast is the best way. $5 a month, and you get over 100 episodes of our lyrical analysis, as well as our current mini hot take season. And we also do episodes on breaking Kanye news when new music and new songs come out. We just did an episode on Wash Us in the Blood and Ego Death. So if you want to check those out, either on iTunes, Spotify, just the regular podcast, you can. They're also on YouTube, all of that stuff. Anyway, appreciate it, and looking forward to covering this more for you all. In the meantime, stay wavy, keep it loopy, and we'll talk soon.